please?
Sergeant Carrie Davies, K-A-R-I-E.
Oh, you can just keep looking at me.
D-A-V-I-E-S, with the Irvine Police Department.
Great, so, please.
Okay, at about 10:10 this morning, officers were dispatched out to this location to speak with our victim in this crime series. Well, it's not a series, but it's basically this crime event that happened today. He had met these two suspects a couple days ago. They were hanging out. Ultimately, this morning, ended up back at his apartment. They wanted to borrow his vehicle. He was starting to get a sense that this probably wasn't a good idea. The male suspect had firearms in his possession. The victim recognized this and thought, this probably is not a good idea for me to be here with them. So ultimately he says, no, you cannot borrow my car. They take his car anyway. So our initial call this morning was to figure out if he wanted to report his vehicle stolen or not. Ultimately, after a couple hours, he decides he does not want to report the vehicle stolen. He wants to try to work it out on his own. As officers leaving the call, they spot the vehicle in this area and they initiate a car stop. The suspect does not stop. They get into a pursuit. It's a high-speed pursuit. After about 2 minutes, the officers cancel the pursuit because it's not safe. A few minutes later, they decide to come back to the apartment complex to see if they can find the vehicle. Sure enough, the vehicle was in the parking structure. It was still running. Because the suspect has weapons and is known to carry them on his person, it took them some time to clear the car, make sure it was safe, and there was nobody inside. Once they determined nobody was inside, they went up to the apartment, tried to make contact with the victim again to make sure he was okay, because now we had the assumption, based on the vehicle being left in a hurry, still running, that they were now in his apartment. So the victim would not answer the phone. So we set up this whole perimeter, shut down everything, started evacuating apartments. Again, knowing that this person, who by now we had identified and was wanted for a felony warrant for weapons charges and some other things. So those two factors basically kind of ramped it up a little bit. Eventually we deployed a drone, and the drone was used to make announcements to try and get them to come out. Ultimately, our victim came out and told us what was happening inside while we were trying to get them to come out. He said there were firearms inside. They started, basically made him feel he was not free to leave, threatened to kill him, and some other things. So those will be separate from the warrants once we figure out what charges will apply in this case. For a few hours, we tried to get them to come out. We made phone contact with them. You can see our SWAT teams out here. That's pretty standard for a call like this, considering the circumstances and the fact that it's obviously taken a lot of people to resolve this incident, and we don't want to deplete all of our resources in the rest of the city. So our negotiators made contact, and ultimately, after a period of time, the female came out, and then the male came out about 10 minutes later. So as of now, we have them both in custody, and they'll be arrested for the warrants. She has a misdemeanor warrant, and then there'll be street charges for all of this mess once the detectives have had a chance to look at it and figure out what crimes apply.
Okay.
So that's where we're at.
Yeah.